This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
25 minutes until 8 o'clock, 7:35, and looking at just over 40 days until the midterm elections. And polling data is coming in right and left and all over. And new polling data come in yesterday from public policy polling, and it's a good sign for the GOP in Arkansas. And we'll say PPP is generally a little more left-leaning, and this headline, GOP ticket leads in Arkansas. So good news for the GOP. Here to talk about the breakdown of this poll, Clint Reed, partner with Impact Management Group. Clint, good morning.
Thanks, Alice. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. And this is a pretty comprehensive poll looking at a lot of the races here in Arkansas, the main ones, the Senate, governor, and then the constitutional offices. And starting off with the Senate race, showing Tom Cotton with a 43-38 advantage over Mark Pryor. Your thoughts?
I think it's pretty consistent with what we've seen over the last few weeks. I will tell you, just you and I we've visited a little bit, but we've been in the field with our own survey. We're seeing pretty similar numbers. It looks to me the Democrats had a little bit of momentum several weeks ago, and the national security stuff really took the limelight. And since then, what we've seen is, from a macro standpoint, Democrat numbers across the board, especially in Arkansas, have continued to decline. So this number is pretty consistent, especially the Senate race and the governor's race, pretty consistent with public and private numbers I've seen. So all good news if you're a Republican in Arkansas.
Absolutely. And as you say, this has been a trend, and I've even had many Democrats who will acknowledge, at least in this Senate race, Tom Cotton this isn't just a fluke. It's not a snapshot in time. It's a trend where he's leading in the polls, which is favorable and the way he would want it.
If you look at the structural makeup of our state, I mean, especially the way it's trended over the last several years, if you look at where independent voters are breaking, they're supporting the Republican candidate, whether it's for the U.S. Senate race or the Land Commissioner race. Republicans have a distinct advantage, and the more that they learn about those Republican candidates, it seems to be that Republicans are doing better. So I expect it to, right now. I expect it to be a really good election cycle for Republicans, but we're a long way to go. We have a long way to go, and certainly you know better than anyone, things can change. It
can change in a heartbeat, and it can certainly change in 6 weeks. Let's look at the governor's race, and according to PPP, it shows Asa Hutchinson, yet again another poll, with a lead over Mike Ross. Here, Asa with 44, Mike Ross with 38. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I don't think Mike Ross did himself any positive favors in the debate last Friday. Look, he's struggling. He looks frustrated. The way he comes across is, a lot of people describe it as mad. I think he has an ad out now trying to deflect that, say he's really passionate about the issues. Ace has been a very consistent campaigner. He's very knowledgeable, very gubernatorial. He's one of the guys that, presidents from going back to Ronald Reagan have asked him to sit down and lead departments and be in the Situation Room. But the polling numbers are starting to bear that out, and I don't see that necessarily changing over the next several weeks. If you look at the amount of money that is being spent by outside groups, and if you look at what Ace has been able to put on TV and in direct mail, I think he's in a very, very good position.
And the trend continues to show that. My guess is Clint Reed, a partner at Impact Management Group. Also want to ask about this. This is the first time I've seen a really good, comprehensive, a little more down-ballot polling data. And this one, PPP, looks at the constitutional offices, and they say these down-ballot races, the GOP is doing well, too. We're looking at, in the state auditor's race, a 4-point lead for the GOP candidate there, 5-point advantage in the land commissioners, 6-point edge in lieutenant governor's race, and attorney general, an 8-point lead in state treasurer's race also. So we're looking at significant leads in all of these top offices.
Yeah, and if you look at the Senate race and the governor's race, you compare the numbers. Cotton's numbers and Ace's numbers are relatively close to the same number, which indicates to me that this concept that a lot of national pundits are talking about, that this could be a wave election, that's starting to line up. And if that wave election occurs, which there are some initial indications that could be happening, that all of those down ballot races are going to be benefited by that. And I think you're seeing that now with Leslie doing well in the AG's race. And as you get on down to even, Secretary of State, Auditor, Land Commissioner. So the generic R at this point, Republican at this point, looks very well, but the macro environment still favors Republicans, and I'm not sure how anybody could argue against that.
Right, and as you indicated earlier, whoever can attract and win over the independent vote, that's key, and right now the GOP is doing so. But at this stage of the game, the polls are one thing, but it's a matter of turning out the vote in the ground game. Who do you see, and what you're hearing and seeing outside of the polls, the get out the vote effort? Who's leading that?
Yeah, polls are one thing. People actually showing up to solidify those polls are something totally different. Look, there's going to be a massive ground effort on both sides. I still think if you look at the natural advantage that Republicans have because of it being a non-presidential campaign, I think it bodes well for Republicans. The burden is on Democrats to get those low propensity Democrat voters that don't necessarily show up except for on presidential elections to come out and vote, and that's a very difficult thing to do. It just doesn't happen naturally, and it doesn't happen easily. So Democrats are swimming upstream in a lot of different directions. I'd hate to be in their shoes, and I have been in their shoes going back to 2006 when things were totally different for Republicans. So I can relate, but I'd rather be on the other side than what the Democrats are facing.
Yeah, no doubt. We appreciate you. Clint Reed, partner at Impact Management Group. I appreciate you, Clint.
Thank you, Alice.
All right.
Anytime.
All right. Have a great day.
You
we
too.
will take a break, and we're going to talk with Congressman Steve Womack. He will weigh in on the latest with the airstrikes in Syria in the fight against ISIS. We'll be back here on The Alice Stewart Show. This segment of The Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER, or you can schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.